Okay, and as you may have noticed, our presentation is a little bit odd, and maybe 14 years of Mongolian study conference could be the first presentation as a perspective of psychology and the discipline of social psychology. Okay. And our hope is to give you some picture about nowadays our modern nomads' livelihood and their some of their issues. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. First of all, as a prologue, I would like to introduce about 21st century's nomads and also what is climate change. And as cited in the historical documents, herder lifestyle came into Mongolian land somewhere around 2,000 to 3,000 years before BCE. And it suited very well with the nomadic lifestyle because Mongolian land and basically weather-wise and climate-wise not suitable for agriculture. So since then, Mongolian nomadic people has been living as herders with the in unison with the nature. Nowadays, by 2019, Mongolia has about 71 million livestock, and this industry is producing around 10% of the GDP and 8% of export. And we have 288,000 herders in 230,000 families. And this number is not growing as it should be with the population growth due to urbanization and migration to the urban areas. Okay. Climate change in Mongolia. To give you some ideas, I'd like to cite one number. Mongolian average temperature is increasing 2 to 3 times than global average temperature, which means it's it is a very big blow to our very fragile ecosystem, and Mongolian people are basically rely on the natural rhythm and cycle. And with the warming and climate change, there are that global phenomenon of loss of permafrost and glaciers, and etc. and and we designed our research around the nomadic herds experience from the drought and drought throughout the year, and within this 2-year project, we have covered 5 provinces, and capital city Ulaanbaatar, and there was around about 500 participants, and we conducted a questionnaire which was developed previously by Dr. David Sattler. And also we conducted interviews with the families and visited herders' families. And now some of our study findings, and the most important number is the stress indicator. We came up with the 41.2 as a stress number, which means basically very high. As a stress, I mean the number is so high it could be seen as post-stress. And social support means while adapting with the climate change, there is a moderately high social support, and people are very resilient with the climate change, and also they are trying to cope with the climate change. And with these numbers and other quantitative data, we designed a structural equation model of adaptive behavior of nomadic herders. And there's in brief, there's 2 points. And this model is produced by statistical programming, and with the lines, and on the lines there are numbers, and we try to make sense between the sub-indicators. And basically people are experiencing climate change, and it affecting their resources and living standards. With these numbers and quantitative data and other qualitative data with the interviews, we are making some conclusions such as people are experiencing effects of climate change with their daily lives, and as drought and drought are getting frequent, and but on the other hand, natural cycle is being broken. Mongolian nomadic people has been living with the nature thousands of years, and they have basic knowledge about natural cycle. For example, there are certain years predictable, drought or drought, and now there is no pattern. Okay, and as a result of climate change, people are moving to the cities, and there are people left behind or stay behind, and they are enduring their daily lives with the climate change and everyday hardship. And their lifetime goal or meaning of life is send their children to the big cities and give them education. The important message is they almost most of them don't want their living style, their profession to their children. Okay, and all these factors affecting their everyday life quality, and we would say it's far beyond tolerable. Okay, but on the bright side, people are adapting and using modern technology. For example, many families in the Gobi region using a trailer as a instead of yurt, and they are using IT technology and renewable energy. That's a good sign. And also, people generally people have a knowledge about climate change, and also they are willing to or acting to reduce their carbon footprint. Okay, and, very briefly, these are the first results of our research, which we would like to share for today. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have actually quite a bit of time
for
questions. So, yeah, please, Alicia.
Your data set for information about zoods and droughts, how far back years did you go?
Yes, our main data collection tool is a questionnaire and interview, and that's the last 2 years data. But we have used previous studies. For example, our government agency has data from 1940s, 50s. Yes.
But you see, the information you gave is different than what I heard at a zoo conference in Ulaanbaatar. But this was back in 1999, 2000, when we had the great zoos.
Yes.
And Mongolian scientists told the English professors who came with the same results and said, it is not true that these great zoos of 99-2000 are unusual. We actually had much worse zoos
1970s,
in the
40s.
40s and 70s. So that's the other thing, is what people, a life of a human being, what you feel and know is different than a statistical analysis.
Yes. Our field is psychology, and generally we try to look into people's adaptation and especially stress level. And it's related to climate change, because we designed our questionnaire with the climate change in mind, and ZOT and draft in mind. And, yes, yes, there has been a big, far more worse ZOT or drafts, but people endured and lived their lives. But this time, people are psychologically living in a condition far more worse than endurable, tolerable.
Andrew, yes.
How did you quantify the responses in the interviews?
Dr. Sattler and others conducted research before in 2008 to 10 in Thailand, and they developed model and questionnaire, and we used that tool, of course adapting it for our purpose, and it gives us several indicators or numbers. For example, stress level and social support and willingness to willingness to act for climate change.
But how does the verbal response become a number? Like, well, how did you say resilience 3.5 because of this statement, because of that? Like, which statements?
I see.
What number?
Yes, we have two separate tools. One is questionnaire. So it will give us these numbers. And also we use the qualitative tool, interviews, and it will give us, it gave us explanation for those numbers.
Ambassador.
Just to make one point, I believe that there was a factual mistake in the numbers. 280,000.
Go back.
Oh, I see.
213,000 families.
Oh,
I think that's just
yes. There
just
is,
for printing purpose.
yes. Yes, and let's take our next question. That's just a typo.
Yes. Yes, Boldsuren.
Two questions. One is, how did you calculate data for to complement your quantitative part? And second comment, did you find any other studies on the stress levels of nomadic people from previous years?
Okay. Yes, the first question is we have numbers, and numbers give us indicators, certain level of indicators. Yes, and
The question is about your qualitative part. How
I-
did you introduce
Hmm.
to complement?
Yes, and it was a 2-year project, and we piloted and gathered our first data, and we had similar numbers. And to explain that, we designed our interviews. So to explain that numbers, we designed. Yes.
My second question,
Yes.
stress levels of nomadic people.
Yes. Unfortunately, we didn't look at the previous studies about Mongolian stress level or Mongolian nomadic herders stress level. We had a methodology well proven previously, so we used that data as a baseline.
Any more questions?
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. It's a very
Thank
interesting
you.
presentation.
Thank you very much.